Hey friends, welcome back to a new video by Aviation Tracker. So, in today's video, I'll be explaining you about why is there a constant sound coming from the system in cockpits when the plane approaches near the runway or at touchdown. That is
50, 40, 30, 20, retard.
So are most of the planes having it? And is there any specific reason for it? If yes, then what is that? Is it important for a plane to have such sound? So before it, I would suggest you to watch my previous video of explanation of the reason for the planes to have such spirals on their engines if you haven't seen it yet, and list down your suggestions in the comment section. So let's get started. So many of you might have heard that sound played on an airplane during a landing. So the descending numbers that were being called were basically the height of an aircraft called out by Radio Altimeter during the landing stage. So you might be thinking that what is a radio altimeter then? It is basically a flight instrument used to measure the distance from an aircraft to the terrain directly beneath it. Now, it is primarily used during instrument approach and low level or night fly below 2500 feet. So its concept is not much difficult. In an aircraft, you have one transmitting and one receiving antenna installed at the lower back part of the plane, also known as the fuselage, which is not much noticed by the passengers on the aircraft, but surely by the staff. So the transmitting antenna emits radio waves leaving the aircraft and getting touched by the earth's surface. After that, most of the radio waves are reflected and few of them are always received by the receiving antenna. The computer then measures the time taken for complete process and the speed of the waves taken to travel, and then finally calculates the altitude of the aircraft. Now let us see how does the radio altimeter calculate the height. So first, always remember that the speed of radio waves in air is equal to speed of light, that is 29,97,92,458 meters per second. Now as we need the altitude in feet, we need the speed in feet per second. So 1 meter is around 3.3 feet, and according to that, our speed will be 98,93,15,111 feet per second. Now take the time taken by the radio waves to travel and reflect and get received in say 0.5 times 0, 505 seconds, and according to mathematics, the speed is always the ratio between the distance and the time, so that if we put the values in it, we get the following equation, which is the speed into time will give the distance traveled, that is around 5000 feet, and that distance is divided by 2, as we only need the path of one way and not the return trip. So we get the distance of the plane from the earth's surface or the altitude, which is 2500 feet. And by the way, the Airbus planes have the altimeter's first announcement of height, which is
2500,
which tells the pilot that the radio altimeter have become active and is working properly. Also, many a times, due to some technical errors, the synthetic voice may not announce its activeness, but the altitude is always displayed on the flight display screen. So, on seeing the pilot observing the height, calls out Radio Altimeter live, and the other pilot flying the plane confirms it by having a quick look on the monitor, and any further calls are always made by the pilot monitoring the height. So this is actually a useful device in aircraft, especially during a less visibility or low visibility landings. But the pilot should always be aware of its geographical surroundings, as the instrument only calculates the distance from the ground, whereas the actual barometric height, that is the height from the sea level, may completely vary. Taking an example from the picture beside. Now this is very dangerous and confusing too, as the height in the radio altimeter keeps on changing in seconds due to uneven terrain, which suggests the pilot to focus on the barometric height rather than the radio altimeter readouts. Now, the second use of it is when the pilot makes a landing and a flare. when the runway approaches, the eyes of the pilot starts focusing towards it and not on the altimeter, so that the plane can be aligned to the runway and the landing can be done accurately without any damage. And at that time, the radio altimeter constantly announces the height above the ground, which is the altitude, which helps the pilot greatly for touchdown. Now when the system announces the height, that is
50,
the plane will always be on the tarmac, and from that point, the pilot starts reducing the sink rate, or called the brake, and start the flare process, though it is 20 feet for Airbus A320. On reaching the ground, the call out,
retard, retard,
which is repeated 4 times, informs the pilot to bring the throttle to idle power, and many a times a complete reverse to not to skid off the runway and safely complete the landing. Now this announcement is always heard in manual as well as the auto landing to keep reminding the pilot about the height. By the way, it's a pretty bad and an old joke that the system calls an airline pilot a retard, which means a mentally disabled person. Though the system doesn't mean like that. Now, the plane is equipped with 2 altimeters, one for the captain's primary flight display and one for the co-pilot side. So whenever one of the system fails, though the situation rarely occurs, both the flight monitors will display the height of the other, but this would reduce the plane's landing capability and would restrict the auto landing features. And this concludes that the altimeter is a reliable flight instrument found in most of the planes, though one step advanced in Airbus planes. Now, a side note that a synthetic voice always comes from the speaker fitted beside the primary flight display, and its volume can be changed easily. When the volume is turned to 0, the callouts do not stop and ultimately override the system. Also, one of the factors for placing the antennas for transmitting and receiving the radio waves to the rear bottom of the aircraft body, that is the fuselage, lifts its nose a little bit, calling the flare. The nose height is much greater than the tail height, giving the wrong altitude call. Due to this, the height of the tail and the landing gear from the ground becomes a bit of similar, using it to be installed at the rear bottom of the fuselage. And that's it for today, as I think it's sufficient for you to know about today's topic. So with that said, I would like to end my video here. And as always, if you like this video, please hit the like button and press the share button to share this video to your friends. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to see more videos. All the sources of the video and few extra links will be given in the description box so that you can refer and study more about it through that. And please write down your reviews, and if you have some doubts regarding the video or any other aviation related topics, then please feel free to share it in the comment section, which I would love to answer. And don't forget to put up the topics on which you would love to see the next video on relating aviation interest. So the next video will be uploaded in few weeks. So stay tuned for more videos. And by the way, sorry guys for waiting such a long time for me to upload another new and an interesting video. I was actually busy with my some school exams last month. So please don't mind. And thank you.